Good day everyone, I am Julie Melukib and today I am going to report the three basic ingredients of paint. But before that, I am going to share first my thoughts about what is paint. For me, paint is a protection, much more than just color in a thin or a tube. Hindi naman natin kailangang magpinta ng mga bagay para maging mas maganda ang mga ito, kundi we paint the outside of our home to keep the rain out. We paint the cars and bicycles partly to make them good, at hindi basta-basta kalawangin. On airplanes and space rockets, paint is one of the things that protects the structures when air rushing past at high speed creates friction and heat. Kung sa tingin natin na ang paint ay isang chemical that dissolves in a liquid to make it spread, but it's a bit more than that. Most of the paints actually have three basic ingredients called the pigment, the bender, and the solvent. There are also typically a number of additives to improve the paint's properties. Depende sa kung saan at paano ito gamitin. So now, I am going to discuss what are the three basic ingredients of paint. First is the pigments. Pigments are granular solids incorporated into the paint to contribute color. The pigments is the color chemical in a paint. It looks certain color because it reflects some wavelengths of lights and absorb others. Traditionally, ang mga metal compounds ay ginagamit upang lumikha ng iba't ibang kulay. For example, ang titanium dioxide, a bright white na kadalasang matatagpuan sa buhangin, ay ginagamit para gumawa ng white paint. Ang iron oxide naman makes yellow, red, brown, or orange. Just think na lang how iron turns rusty red. And chromium oxide makes paints that's color green. Ang black comes from particles of carbon. Just think guys what your burnt toast looks like and you're getting close to a color chemical known as carbon black. Different pigments are pinaghalo to make paints of any color that we can imagine. Next is the bender. Bender, commonly referred to as the vehicle, is the actual film forming component of paint. The bender holds the pigment in solution until it's ready to be dispersed onto the surface. So, pigments are typically solids, so you couldn't use them to paint by themselves. They'd be difficult to apply. They wouldn't spread evenly. They wouldn't stick to paper or a wall, and they'd wash straight off if they got wet. That's why ang mga paints ay naglalaman din ng mga sangkap na tinatawag nating benders. So their job is idikit ang mga particles to one another, but also to make them stick to the surface of a painting. Some benders ay ginawa mula sa natural na mga langis katulad ng linseed oil. Pero, kasagaran ay gawa na ngayon mula sa sintetikong plastic. Originally, they were made from rubber, which is why we still talk about the latex paints today. Just imagine guys na the bender as an invisible skin of plastic with a colorful pigment na nakakalat dito, at makikita niyo how a paint gives a layer of protection. Lastly is the solvent. Solvent controls the flow and application of the paints. It mixes into the paint, usually with a brush, to dilute it the proper viscosity or thickness before it's applied to the surface. Okay. Solvent is mix a pigment in a blender and you get a thick gloopy substance that's difficult to spread. Nasubukan mo na bang magpinta ng wall gamit ang treacle? At ang treacle, guys, is a thick, sticky, dark syrup made from partly refined sugar. Ganyan ang paggamit ng pigment and blender. This is the reason why paints have a third ingredient called the solvent. As its name suggests, ang solvent, guys, is something that dissolves something else. The solvent's job is to make the pigments and blender into a thinner at hindi masyadong malapot that will spread evenly. That's why ang mga solvents ng paint kung minsan ay tinatawag itong thinners. Once the paint has spread out, the solvents evaporates into the air, leaving the paint evenly applied and dry beneath it. So, kapag naglalagay ka ng pangit na paint at may amoy na nananatili sa loob ng ilang araw while it dries, that solvent evaporating into the air. So, overall, pigments provide color and hide, while blenders work to bind the pigment together and create the paint film. Solvents are liquids that suspend the ingredients and allow us to place the paint on the surfaces. So all these three basic ingredients combine to provide paint that we meet our specific design needs. So I finished discussing about the three basic ingredients of paints, and now let's move on to the properties of color, which will be discussing of Mr. Ligaria. Thank you.